Okay, so let's create our first basic web page, and we're going to look at the basic structure of a web page in this video. So I didn't start with my editor open because I wanted to show you that it's pretty easy for VS Code, rather than having to look all over for it. If you type in your search, if you hit VS, just type the key letters VS in your search box, Visual Studio Code will pop right up there. You can always pin it to your taskbar or something. This is VS Code. We don't have any files open. We don't have any folders open. Clicked on the Explorer icon here, and it gives us the option of cloning a repository, which we'll talk about later, or opening a folder. So I am going to create a small sample web page. I'm going to put it in a folder. I'm going to put that folder on my desktop. So I'm going to go over my desktop and right click and say new folder, and I'm just going to call it web page, and that's where I'm going to keep it. You can keep yours somewhere on your computer, wherever you feel comfortable. I'm just doing this because it's an easy place to demo to you what I'm doing. So I have this web page folder on my desktop, so I can go here and say open folder. Now I'll click on my desktop, and there's my web page folder, and I'm just going to select it, and I have this folder open in Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go full screen here because everything I do pretty much is going to be out of Visual Studio Code now. All right, so let's create a file. I'm going to right click and say new file, and it's going to let me type a name. I'm going to say index.html. So this is my base web page. We always name our base pages with index.html because most servers are set up to automatically deliver index.html as the default file. So if I say www.somewebsite.com and hit enter without specifying which HTML file I want, it will automatically look at that server, and the server will automatically send me its index.html file. When you publish your site later, the server we're going to host our files on for this course requires your main file to be titled index.html if you want anybody to be able to get to it. So always make your base file index.html. So there it is, and we have it open in our text editor on the right side, ready for us to type some code. So we are going to make a default web page. So we're just going to do the structure. We're not even going to do any content. We might do one little thing for content. So the first thing you need to know is that every HTML page needs to have a doc type stated at the very top. So we use tags enclosed in greater than and less than signs, HTML. So we surround those with a less than sign on one side, a greater than on the other. So for this one, we're going to write in here doc type, and this is all capital letters, and this is about the only thing that's ever capitalized when you're creating CSS and HTML. So doc type, and I forgot there's an exclamation point in front of this. Exclamation doc type space HTML. That has to be at the top of your code. That declaration needs to be there. If you hear that flapping, that is my dog shaking her ears behind me. I've given up trying to put her in another room, so you may hear that from time to time. If I put her in another room, then she bangs her head against the door trying to get in to be next to me. So once in a while, you'll hear her. All right, so document type declaration goes at the top, and then we have the HTML tag. So less than sign, HTML, and notice, oops, I forgot the L. Notice the minute I type the greater than sign, it puts another version of the tag right next to it for me. That's a nice part about this editor, is it does a lot of things for you, so you don't have to type them. So this is a container. 95% of our tags are containers, meaning they hold something inside. So this specifies the beginning of our HTML. The second tag, that is HTML with a slash in front of it, is the closing tag. Okay, so everything that is HTML on our page is going to go between these two tags. There is one other thing you should always add to your opening. So this is the opening HTML tag. This is the closing HTML tag. We know it's the closing because it has the slash. One thing you should always add to your HTML tag at the beginning, even though it doesn't require it to just do a basic document, standards say we should specify what language we're using. So that helps with things like websites that automatically interpret Spanish, for example, or translate for you. They need to know the base language. So we'll put in here lang equals, and then in quotation mark, notice it automatically completed the quotes for me. I'm just going to put EN in there for English. Okay, so you should always have that. Notice Visual Studio is doing a good job of automatically indenting my code for me. We want to make our code pretty so that it's easy to read and easy to edit and easy to navigate. Whether it's us doing it or whether it's somebody else that's updating our code for us. We want these pages to be structured. They'll work if we run everything all together, but they're very, very hard to maintain that way. So we follow some coding standards, and I expect you to follow the coding standards. And that's every level within a container gets indented. That's no different than probably any language you've written so far. If you've done Python, you know Python is very serious about indents. Other languages like C# and Java, we always indent our code when they're inside some other piece. So the code inside of a method or function in most languages gets indented by a level. And if you have an if statement, the code inside that block gets indented. It's the same with HTML. So inside HTML, there are two sections. First is the head section. So I'm going to type head. And notice it finished the closing tag for me, so I'm just going to hit enter to drop it down. And then it's automatically indented another level there. And then after my head section, we have the body. And there it automatically did the slash body for me. Clean things up here. So inside HTML, I have a head section and a body section. Okay, the body is where the information that we're going to display gets displayed. This is the content. I'm going to specify more. This is the displayed content. All of our displayed content will go in the body. I'm just going to write that there. It's not technically inside any HTML tags, but that's okay. HTML is pretty forgiving. However, if you don't follow the standards, especially when you're coding with JavaScript, if you don't follow the standards by putting tags around things, you're going to have problems. The head section is a place where we put information about our page that isn't necessarily, well, it's never displayed on the page. So there is one thing that we're always required in order to validate our pages, to make a valid page according to standards on the internet. We need to have a meta tag. Okay, so this tag is called meta, and it defines our character set. So I started typing it and it showed me the completion. Character set equals, I hit tab there, so let me do that again so you can see what I did, because that autocomplete is coming up to help us. CHA, and it's already giving me character set. If I hit tab to complete this, It automatically put equals, gives me the quotes, and I can specify that this page is going to be encoded in UTF-8. And I need my closing tag. So basically, the head section contains information about our page that doesn't get displayed on the page. It's used by things like web crawlers and search engines and all kinds of things to find out information about our page. It's used by the web browser itself to know what kind of content it's looking for on our page. And we have to have it in order to be a valid web page. The only other thing I am going to show you in this video is one more item, and that is title. Okay, and it put the N there. I'm not going to put this on a separate line. I'm just going to type in here my web page. We have a basic web page. That's it. I'm going to hit Control S to save it. Did you see what happened there when I hit Control S? Another nice part. Visual Studio Code made it nice and pretty for me. It reformatted a little bit, adjusted my indents and my spacing between my lines, and that's what I get. How can I test this? If you installed it, you can right click and say open in default browser. Now I will say your default browser for web applications should be Google Chrome. Do not use Microsoft Edge or Firefox, they all have a lot of the tools we're going to be using, but nobody, as far as developer tools go, nothing compares to Google Chrome. So hopefully your browser is set to Google Chrome as your default web browser. If not, you should change that and make Chrome your default web browser. So I'm going to say open in default browser, or I can push Alt B. It opens this page in my browser. And I have two screens running here, so it opened on another screen. I'll drag it over. You can see my web page is here. It says this is the displayed content. That is that line that I typed in there. This is the displayed content. But you can also see that that title got displayed up here in the tab. So it's not on the web page. Remember I said things in the head don't get displayed on the web page. My web page, those words are not displayed in the web page. They're displayed on the tab at the top. So that's what the title does. The place for you to title your page. So you should have all of these elements on a basic page. Now the last thing I want to show you is that we spend so much time doing edits in the editor and previewing in the browser that I often do this. So I'm going to take my browser. If you're on Windows, you can do this, or you can just resize it manually. But I hit the window key and the left arrow, and that automatically makes this take half my screen. The current window takes half the screen. I can come over here with my web browser and do the same thing. And it takes, and I can actually adjust how much each one gets here. That's just a quick way to do it. So here's an update to my page. I'm going to hit Control S to save it. I'm going to come over here to this web page and refresh. I can see my new code. So it's a matter of saving things in your editor and refreshing the page to see what changed. And we repeat that process a lot. So you'll find the comfortable spot for you to adjust how much of your page is meant for your code editing and how much of your page is meant for your web browser. Depending on what you're doing, that could change from time to time. Some people like it top and bottom. I like mine left and right. Hey, whatever trips your trigger. And I will see you in the next video.